start. Good morning, everybody. My name is Amber Gunst, and I'm the CEO of Austin Technology Council. We're so excited to have you join us today for this discussion on how employers can improve financial health of workforce with everything that has gone on with COVID this year, whether it is salary deferrals or furloughs or layoffs or hiring new employees from a remote situation where maybe they were laid off for a few months before they joined your team. The financial health of workforce is incredibly important. And we are so fortunate this morning to have Adam Kujawa. He is Vice President of Sales and Business Development for Netspend, join us. And Adam, I'm going to toss it over to you now.
Thanks, Amber. And thanks everybody for taking the time here this morning. Really some topics today, or I should say a topic today and talking points today that are really relevant in the market and what we're seeing today. In the overall marketplace. And this is a topic that Netspend and myself personally are very passionate about. So really excited to be talking with the group here today. We're going to cover a lot of information in a relatively short period of time, but as questions come up, please feel free to ask those questions in the chat form, and we'll make sure that any questions or expanded talking points get covered as we go through here today. So agenda here today. Today I'll be sharing a lot of information and discussing, several key statistics and firsthand experiences about how employers and employees are faring in today's environment, and how trends that were present prior to the pandemic are being amplified even greater today. I'll provide exclusive data about the importance of employee financial health. We'll obviously define what employee financial health is and what its impact is on individuals and organizations. We'll share information and examples from numerous Netspend clients. And together, we will provide 5 strategies that can support your workforce and your overall business. So today's workforce is really, and I think this slide does a really good job outlining, what's going on in the workforce today. You can see a lot of words in here, but words that really, prevalent in everybody's day-to-day life. These words and these trends were in place before or pre-COVID, and the pandemic has really accelerated a lot of these today. The workforce in the workplace is constantly changing, and employers have to react to meet the change in the marketplace. And a couple of these words here that I want to call out. Financial health, which we're going to talk a lot about today. Remote work, which has obviously become not more prevalent, but the prevalent way that individuals are working right now. On-demand pay is something that we're going to talk a lot about today, and what that is and what that means to the workforce. And then the gig economy. So we're seeing trends today, I should say, that folks are working multiple jobs. And what employers and companies have really designated as part-time employees, these folks aren't in fact part-time. They're part-time at an employer, but they're working multiple jobs to become full-time plus employees. So we'll cover a lot of this today as we're talking about, as we're talking about the subjects at hand, or the subject at hand, excuse me. But everybody feels this in their day-to-day life. There's a lot going on in the workforce, and there's more noise in the workforce than there's ever been. So one of the things that you see today is a 5-generational workforce, or 5 generations in the workforce today. So you have still traditionalists in the workforce. They make up about 2% of the workforce. You have baby boomers still in the workforce. They're now about a quarter of the overall workforce. Gen Z at 5% of the workforce. And then the bulk of the workforce is millennials and Gen X. So for the first time ever, we have 5 generations in the workforce at a given time. This matters because it means a more diverse set of employee needs or more set of employee needs than ever. The needs of traditionalists are different than the needs of millennials. The needs of Gen X are different than the needs of Gen Z. As we see here today, the bulk of the workforce is made of millennials and Generation X. And employers are looking for ways to provide benefits to all generations in the workforce, but namely to those 2 generations. And we've talked with a lot of our clients and a lot of our partners, and what they're really trying to do, what they were trying to do pre-COVID, and what they're trying to do now during COVID, is try to work with and find ways to provide a safety net, most notably to millennial employees to ensure that they have the protections they need, not only for themselves, but their families, because millennials and the younger workforce don't have as strong of a safety net as other generations, I should say, in the workforce. One thing that we're going to talk about again here today, and I'll highlight this right now, but 56% of millennial employees are demanding, not asking, but demanding that their employer provide them earned wage access. And just to start the conversation here, but what earned wage access is essentially work today, get paid today. And it's kind of a unique thing that you see as people evolve in their work life. You know, when you're a younger worker and you're mowing lawns or doing babysitting or things like that, that's a work today, get paid today for the most case situation. As individuals mature and go into the workforce, that changes, right? I mean, traditionally, or for the most part, companies pay on a weekly, bi-weekly, bi-monthly, in some cases monthly basis. But the needs of individuals as they get into the workforce in terms of, you know, I work today, I want to get paid today because I have financial demands today, does not change. And there's technology out there in the marketplace today that enables employers to offer their employees the ability to work today, get paid today. A lot of that's driven or a lot of that was started, I should say, from the gig economy, because in the gig economy, it's a work today, get paid today situation. We're seeing that spill over into what we'll say is the traditional workforce. And that's a pretty exciting trend in the marketplace. And it's something that, again, as these stats show here, that really at the end of the day, the employees are demanding that is an offer or an option for them, as they work. So next slide here. So we're going to talk about the importance of employee financial health, especially now. So what is financial health? Simply put, it's a measurement of a person's financial life that assesses whether they believe they can be financially resilient and pursue opportunities over time. So financial health is critical to not only people's mental well-being, but to the efficiency and productivity of the workforce as well. So next slide here, we're going to talk a little bit about why are workers financially insecure. And this data, I want to be clear, was taken pre-COVID, and we believe these numbers are up, or these trends are even more prevalent during the pandemic. But even pre-COVID, the number one financial concern, was the number one stress in people's lives. And you can see here, why workers are not financially, or why workers are financially insecure is not enough income at 64%, debt and loans, basically 50%, 49%, insufficient savings, 47%, overspending at 47%, unpredictable income at 37%, and inconsistent wage payments right there. So it's really tough for employers to make up the not enough income component of it, right? That is somewhat on the individual to identify, careers and paths to allow them to make more income, work second jobs and things like that. If you look at, some of the other trends here, or the other numbers here, unpredictable income and inconsistent wage payments are two that we really want to highlight here, because those are things that the employers can solve for. Also, savings and offering savings programs are things that employers can solve for as well. But when you look at these numbers here, overall, the inability for employees to not make enough income, have debt and loans, have insufficient savings, overspend, and have unpredictable income really adds up to workers' inability to obtain financial security. So the impacts, I should say, the pandemic's impact on employees' financial health. So again, a lot of these numbers were taken pre-COVID, or I should say the top number here was taken pre-COVID. But in January of 2020, 34% of the workforce felt financially or felt somewhat or very financially insecure. That has obviously been that those numbers, or that percentage, has been elevated during COVID. As of April 2020, 2/3 of the workers of restaurant workers, lost their jobs because of the COVID-19 pandemic. The restaurant industry, which is just one industry but employs tens of millions of people, has been financially or substantially impacted by the pandemic. nearly half of all employees in the United States are unbanked, meaning they cannot walk into a financial institution and open up a bank account for a myriad of reasons, or they're underbanked, meaning they can go into a traditional financial institution, a Wells Fargo, Bank of America, et cetera, and open up a bank account, but that bank account doesn't meet their needs. It doesn't help them better lead their financial life. There's potentially, I should say, fees associated with the account. There's minimum balance requirements. The bank account that they can open does not really fit the needs of those individuals. So that's half of the people here in the United States fall into those two categories. And then the last thing I want to talk about here too, 150 hours of productivity are lost per employee each year due to financial stress. If you have an individual who works full-time, that's approximately 2,000 hours a year that individual works. That's 7.5% of their productivity is lost due to financial stress. That's substantial. And that has a really big impact on the businesses or on businesses, and not only on the individual, but on the businesses they're working for as well.
Hey, Adam, I want to jump in here a second because that's huge. When you're looking at 7%, if you're looking at maybe a low number of 20% of your workforce feels some form of financial insecurity for any of the reasons that you listed there. One of the reasons could also be taking care of elderly parents. But if you're looking at that and 20% of your workforce feels financially insecure and 7% of the productivity is being lost, what does that mean for the bottom line of the company?
Well, what it would mean is a substantial drain on the bottom line of the company, or a substantial impact on the bottom line of the company, meaning that not only revenue, but profitability is walking out the door because that is lost because of that. So it's important, at the end of the day, employees are the most important part of any business, and having highly productive employees in the right seats in that business, or in any business, I should say, is what ultimately drives the performance of the business. And when there's issues like financial insecurity, like stress because of not being able to pay your bills, not being able to access money that you've already earned, to pay a bill, so you have to take on a debt obligation or something along those lines, that weighs on people's minds, and it ultimately negatively impacts the bottom line of the business.
Okay, yeah, it seems like HR teams and finance teams need to kind of work together when they're looking at pay increase options or how to help solve this for folks. So that number jumped out to me, and I was like, that's a high number of productivity lost.
Well, and I shared too, if a full-time worker works approximately 2,000 hours a year, and then you take 7.5% of that, that's 150 hours. A lot of the folks that we're talking about here are not full-time workers. So when you look at 150 hours of productivity lost, that percentage of actual work is going to go up dramatically, because these folks may be only working 1,000 hours a year or 1,500 hours. I say only working, that's a lot of time working, right? But when you look at that compared to a full-time employee, the percentage impact could be substantially higher.
So, just in wrapping up this little, because I'm zeroing in on this, like making sure your employees have access to their pay when they need it, even if it's advancing their paycheck to them in that one time period in which they're feeling stressed about it or anything else. So making sure your employees feel financially secure, your business is going to actually benefit significantly from that.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And that's one strategy. And we'll talk about some others as we get into kind of the meat of the presentation here. But there's a lot of low to no cost solutions out there that employers can take advantage of to promote financial literacy, to encourage savings, to do budget tracking. I'm kind of stealing some of the thunder from later in the presentation, but that's okay. To encourage, budget track, or I shouldn't say encourage, but to help with budget tracking, that at the end of the day, employers can take advantage of those, and they're really low to no cost solutions. It's just employers have to be aware of where to find those and how to implement those successfully across their organization. So kind of on this topic here, or continuing on this topic here, I should say, but if you look here at this particular slide, you see the really big gaps in overall percentages here of financially secure employees versus financially insecure employees. Let's start here on the left side of this slide. So in terms of workplace satisfaction, so individuals who are satisfied with their workplace, what their employer offers them, the value that they're providing not only to the company, to their clients, but also to society, 83% of financially secure individuals are very to somewhat satisfied, with their workplace. Only 56% of financially insecure employees are very or somewhat satisfied with their place of employment. Likelihood to recommend employees to others, 75% of individuals who are financially secure are likely or very or somewhat likely to recommend their employees to others. Only 51% of insecure individuals are likely to make that same recommendation. In terms of retention, 78% financially secure employees are very or somewhat satisfied and want to stay at their place of employment. 57% of insecure employees fall into that same boat. So when you look at this and we talk about productivity of the workforce, financial security and insecurity, or I should say financial security plays a substantial role in satisfaction, recommendation of the employer to other individuals, and overall retention. And you talk to a lot of employers out there. Retention of key individuals is one of their top, goals and objectives. From not only an HR standpoint, but from the C-level suite as well. So again, a little bit more information here on financial health. 35% of Gen X employees are financially insecure across the industries we surveyed, which include restaurant, hospitality, construction, and retail. 40% of workers run out of funds before their next paycheck and need to postpone paying bills, which has a financial penalty typically associated with that, or they need to borrow funds. And the need to borrow funds is a quick borrowing of funds. It's not, which tends to have a higher cost associated with it. 68% of workers cannot pay for an unexpected $400 expense without going into debt. So more than 2/3 of the overall workforce, if they have something goes wrong with their car, if they have something goes wrong with the house, a pipe burst, they need to pay somebody to come in, and fix that. There's numerous other examples, of course. But if they have an expense of $400 or more, they cannot pay that expense without going into debt. So, and this is true across all generations, traditionalists, baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z. So you can see here, the stress that is caused by financial insecurity across all generations. So hopefully you're still with us, because the picture we've painted has been a little bit grim, obviously, in terms of what's going on in the marketplace today. But now we're going to shift gears and talk about how employers are responding and how they can respond. Because there's a number of things that companies can do to support their financial health that will benefit not only the employees, but the businesses as well. And this is hypercritical now, probably more critical than ever during the pandemic. So employers are catching up. Unfortunately, data shows 69% of companies have done nothing to address employees' evolving needs in the last year. The good side of that is 31%, my math's right, I think it is, of companies have done something to address these needs in the last year. But only 9% of companies today offer their employees to get paid more frequently than every 2 weeks. Only 12% offer money management tools, and fewer than half offer their employees the ability to track and manage payroll funds. So let's jump into what some 5 strategies are. 5 strategies are to create an employee financial wellness plan that'll improve recruiting, retention, and overall employee performance. Because that's one thing I want to highlight here. This is, we're talking a lot about the employee experience here, but I think Amber did a great job, highlighting this is also impacts the employers as well, because financially insecure individuals tend to be less productive employees, and employee productivity only positively, or higher employee productivity, has a positive impact on the overall bottom line. So let's start talking through these strategies here. So strategy one, give employees payroll options that provide them provide fast, convenient electronic access to not only their tips, standard payroll, and earned wage as well. Bottom line is people need their wages paid fast, in the fastest and most convenient way possible. So give employees faster, more flexible and convenient access to their wages. We know employees want this. 41% of all employees are interested in receiving daily payment options there, which is a little bit higher than the stat that we just shared earlier. So I apologize for the discrepancy there, but these stats were obviously taken at a different time. 50% of employees are interested in early access or advances on earned wage. So what earned wage is, just to be clear here too, I'm going to go into this right now, but earned wage is something that the employer can offer where their employees, if they choose to, can get paid today or get paid the same day that they work. So I'm working in a retail, I'm working in a traditional retailer. I complete my shift, then I have the ability via a mobile app to go on and choose to get paid, my net wages for that particular day. This is immensely popular with employees because tying back into what we just talked about before, a lot of our employees, if they don't have access to payroll faster than, let's say, every 2 weeks, they have to take on a debt obligation. They have to figure out a way to get access to funds in order to, make bill payments, pay for an unplanned expense and things of that, or anything like that pops up. So again, this access to net wages on a daily basis. There's different ways to access earned wages as well. Education is important on the front end. I know employers are, or I should say, we've learned that employers are always concerned about employees accessing funds on the same day because it's different, right? It's not something that large employers or even mid-sized employers are used to offering. But that's where the market is today, and employers are using this as a recruiting and retention tool. Hey, we offer this as a huge benefit for our employees. If you go across the street and work somewhere else, they may not offer it. So, or if you're interviewing at 2 places, we offer this, they don't. It's really hypercritical when you're looking at employee retention and employee recruitment, that this becomes part of the employer's plan. I'm not saying implement it today, implement it tomorrow, but employers should be aware of this as a way to recruit and retain some of their top talent. Specifically in the restaurant space, tip workers need a streamlined tip out process. Netspend today, inside our business partnerships channel, we work with approximately 800 different restaurant groups, and about a third of those are casual plus restaurant operations, meaning they're sit down tip type operations. We also work with a lot of entities who do tip drivers, or there's driver tips, I should say, and mileage reimbursement. So at the beginning of the pandemic, and really it is the case now, the experience for the tipped individual was what it's been for years, what it has been for years. Work today, at the end of my shift, the manager hands me an envelope of cash for my tip payment or for my tips that were processed via credit card, or if I'm a driver doing deliveries, the tips that were processed via credit card plus my mileage reimbursement. Well, the pandemic obviously highlighted the fact that this is an incredibly inefficient process. It's inefficient on the company level, and it's inefficient on the individual level as well. For the company, they have to take the manager off the floor, go into the back, put cash into an envelope, take it out of the safe, put cash into an envelope, hope that it's correct, and hand that back to the individual. For the individual, instead of that money being deposited directly to a bank account of their choosing, they now have to take that cash, go to the bank, if their shift ends, let's say, past 5 o'clock, the next day, deposit that money into their account so that they can pay their bills and lead their life. And the process just doesn't work. So from a tip out standpoint, the pandemic has really highlighted the need to digitize this process, both at the company level, as well as at the employee level as well. So today, 46% of restaurant employees are interested in electronic tip payments, meaning receiving their tip outs, in electronic format, not cash. 56% of financially insecure employees are interested in same-day access to tip wages, same-day access to digital tip wages or tips, across all the industries surveyed. So that includes restaurant as well as hospitality, construction, retail. So that goes beyond tips, but again, highlighting the fact that there's a need for that same-day access to earned wage. And then 23% of workers say same-day access to tips makes them feel that their employee understands their needs across the industries that were surveyed. So electronification or digitization of tips is here, and there's a lot of solutions out there in the marketplace that can help drive that digitization, and it benefits the company as well as the individual dramatically. So improving the overall payroll experience, boost employee engagement. Offering a payroll option that makes employees feel that their needs are understood by their employers. Plus, it gives the employees a feeling that they have better control over their finances. Again, not advancing employees' money, but giving them access to digital options that allow them to work today, get paid today, will dramatically increase in workforce engagement and overall productivity. So strategy 2. So we've talked a lot about the diverse needs of the five generation workforce. Now we will highlight strategies that Netspend clients have utilized to manage multi-generational employees. So strategy 2 is develop and implement strategies to manage today's diverse 5-generation workforce. So this slide here, I think does a really good job of helping employees better understand, or I should say, helping employees or helping employers communicate financial wellness to their employees. Sorry, that was a little bit of a mouthful for me to say, but and that starts at the top. With leadership communicating to employees the importance of financial wellness and what the company is offering that individual, or all the individuals, I should say, from a financial wellness standpoint. Training videos. People like to consume information when they're ready to consume information. They don't want to be called into a meeting and have to sit down and watch a video. Put together training videos that help communicate this to the employer. The individual can watch at their convenience. Tablets for training, so including that information in electronic format on a tablet, or having information on the tablet that again promotes, encourages, and helps better educate financial wellness to the employees. So life hack series, a lot of our clients have utilized this. Re-entering the workforce. So we've seen, we've obviously seen unemployment numbers spike dramatically in the last few months, and fortunately they're starting to come down. The numbers that came out today were very positive. So folks are re-entering the workforce. Perhaps they were unemployed, or maybe they had retired or had stopped working, but the pandemic has, caused them, or required them, I should say, to re-enter the workforce. So not strategies, but training around how to re-enter the workforce properly is something that our clients have done. Building for retirement, that's always critical. Saving money, saving whatever money you can is hypercritical for employers. Not only encourage that, but also offer the training and the education to help them build for retirement. Savvy benefit consumer, and what this really means is, when we look at folks who are in the hourly workers, they are the most savvy folks that you see out there. I mean, in terms of not stretching dollars, but stretching pennies. I mean, these are folks that know every last cent that they're spending, and they know the most efficient ways for them to spend those funds. So providing training, education on how to further stretch those dollars, stretch those pennies, is something we've seen our clients do, and it's paid enormous dividends for the company and the employees as well. And then money management 101, education on how to properly manage money, and that really kind of ties all of this together. But providing that education, which again, employers can obtain at low to no cost and provide to their employees in a medium that is consumable for their employees, we've seen pay huge dividends for our clients. So jumping to strategy 3, provide employees benefits that enable financial wellness and increase employee satisfaction and retention. Satisfaction and retention, during the pandemic, actually, believe it or not, decreased in terms of overall priority, but that's starting to tick back up right now. So employers, that provide benefits that enable financial wellness and increase employee satisfaction and retention, that's going to be a critical strategy going forward. So, financial benefits boost employee satisfaction and retention. Stable employees, and we've talked about this, are better performers. They're more efficient, they're more effective, they're better performers. The more satisfied employees are, they stay. And this helps the business stabilize. So offering financial wellness benefits are a key driver of success. Education, 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 and communicating, to individuals about how they can better manage their money, how they can further stretch their dollars, how they can create and track budgets. That's something that all employers can offer. And again, it's going to boost the employee satisfaction, cause those folks or allow those folks to stay, and that's going to increase the overall efficiency and productivity of the workforce.
Adam, so one of the things I wanted to point out to the folks that are on the call, if you've got a PEO program within your company that manages your HR and functions and everything, they already have this, and they have it where they can like do it across the board with your companies, or they can do it privately with people who are struggling with debt. Also, I know we've got two different banks that ATC operates with. Both of those banks, and one of them is a regional bank and one of them is a big global bank, have the ability to send out bankers who will come and do this training. It will probably be on Zoom right now, but their banking employees will come on and do this without your team actually being part of that. So if your business has a relationship with a bank, like look at this too. And I know just looking at the Netspend website, you guys have a ton of videos and a lot of other things. So the resources are out there, they are free, or it's something that you're already paying for and you don't realize it, like through your PEO program.
I think that's an excellent point, Amber, because a lot of these services that we're talking about are value adds that current partners and current relationships offer. You just got to ask the question: would they be willing to offer it to employees or into the workforce, I should say? But and I would also highlight too when talking about financial wellness and education and things like that. I do think it's critical for the management team to review that information and make sure that the information offered fits the need of their overall workforce. And that's a quick, easy review. Again, it's a low to no cost solution, but we have seen that if the wrong information is presented to employees, it can actually decrease overall satisfaction because the employees feel a disconnect in terms of what's being outlined to them, what's being shared with them, and what their actual situation is. So again, more information, having some information is always better than having no information, but it is critical to make sure that the right information is being shared. So offer more financial benefits employees want, savings programs, help employees save some of their hard-earned money through matches at the employer level. Encourage savings, create rainy day funds, provide benefits associated with that. Look at products that have very high savings rates associated with the program. And that's probably not going to be found in traditional FIs, but there's a lot of other solutions out there that have very high savings rates if money's deposited there. Discounted or free financial services. Again, we talked about that already. There's whether it's a PEO, whether it's a payroll company, whether it's an FI that you work with. There are discounted and free financial services that are abundant. These can be online coupon centers, right? So employees spend money at this particular location, get money back type thing. I don't know if that's exactly a coupon, but that's really what, it's more of a digitized coupon there. Discounted RX prescription or discounts on prescription medication. That's huge in the marketplace today. And in employees who don't have access to RX discount cards, they pay a fortune in prescription medication, where utilizing solutions that will give them a free RX discount card can save them tens, if not hundreds of dollars a month in prescription medication. Digital payment tools. We talked about this. That is where the market is not only going, but that's where it's at today. Employees, want fast, convenient digital access to not only their tipped income, but their accrued income as well. And that, a real simple solution, if it's not being offered today, is offer direct deposit to your employee base, but also give them access to the digital options we talked about with earned wage and the ability to draw funds or draw from accrued wages on a same day basis. And then mobile technology. The world is going mobile, right? And people consume not only information, but data in a mobile environment more frequently than they do anywhere else right now. So when we're offering employees benefits that they want, make sure there's a mobile experience, especially for the millennial generation. And millennial generation almost requires mobile. A unique story. We had a a restaurant group that we worked with, and we were talking to them, and we were talking about the reservation process, which is not something that we're involved with, but they told us flat out, like, we won't take reservations over the phone. Like those days are gone, because we are finding that our patrons, they're not going to call us. They want to go online and get in the mobile app, and they want to utilize the mobile app to take reservations. And I'm by no means old, but that was almost revolutionary for me. Like, so I was like, so you're telling me I can't pick up the phone and just say, hey, I'd like to come at 7. Is there a seat? And they said, no, that's not the experience our patrons are looking for. So again, that's an example, not something that we're talking about here today, but having these platforms and having these tools available via mobile are hypercritical, and that's what the employees are looking for. So strategy 4, give employees access to more resources and tools, financial education resources, tracking, and budgeting tools. Employees need new ways to manage and budget as they're adapting to new situations, such as using less cash, shopping online, or using mobile apps. So employees want access to financial education. It's that simple. They want it. It's something that they're looking for. 25%, or a quarter of the workforce of employees, rely on their employer to provide financial education to help them manage their money. So they are 25% of the workforce is relying solely on their employer to provide them that education. And we're seeing that number go up because, to Amber's point just a little bit ago, the employers have a network. The employers have the buying power to get really strong and quite frankly, the best financial education, for their workforce. And as an individual, that information is hard to find or can be expensive, where the employer can provide that to the employee. The employee is relying on the employer to provide that, and they're going to get the best possible education for the employee base. 43% of financially insecure employees, or financially insecure individuals, want access to financial literacy and education. 47% of secure employees want access to the same. So this is, these are high percentage of individuals, whether they're secure or insecure, looking for financial literacy and education. And then 26% believe financial literacy and education helps them feel in control of their finances, which makes sense, right? If you understand, if you have a knowledge base, if you're educated on what it is you're doing and what it is you're looking at, you're going to feel much more in control of your finances. I will share here too that these numbers and these stats were taken, pre-pandemic, and we strongly believe that these overall percentages have risen, in the last 6 to 7 months. Employees also want access to financial tracking and budgeting tools. Budgeting is more important than ever. People want to feel in control of their finances. They want to understand where they're spending their money, how they're spending their money, and they want to identify how they can eliminate unnecessary expenses. So 32% of employees says it allows financial tracking and budget tools allows them to budget effectively. So almost a third of employees say that access to these types of tools, which again, employers can typically get at low to no cost, allow them to budget effectively. 29% say the tools help them feel in control of their overall finances, and 51%, so more than half of financially insecure employees are interested in these types of tools. So again, you can talk to the PEO, you can talk to your payroll company, you can talk to various financial resources that you have. These types of tools, financial tracking and budget tools, can typically be provided at no cost, or I should say low to no cost. And a lot of solutions out there in the marketplace today, maybe a little bit of a plug here for Netspend, offer these tools as part of their standard setup at no cost. And when I say standard setup, is part of their account offering that's available to individuals who choose to utilize those types of products. So strategy 5, give employees access to multiple payroll methods. We've talked about this throughout the presentation, but people want faster, more convenient access to their wages, and they want a choice as well. So when you look here on this particular slide, folks want access to direct deposit. Folks want access to early access to earned wages. They don't want to wait a week. They don't want to wait 2 weeks. They don't want to wait for payroll to process. They want the ability to work today, get paid today. And employees are going to go to places that give them that option. And that's becoming, we said 9% of employers are offering that today. We believe in the next 2 years, it's going to be at 25% and then potentially up to 50% within the next 5 years. So this is not not a growing trend, but this is a rapid trend that's in the marketplace today. And then we talked about this a little bit earlier, but there are a population of individuals out there, a healthy population of individuals who don't have access to traditional bank accounts, or the bank account doesn't really meet their needs. So there's various options out there with general purpose, reloadable cards, payroll cards that may be a better solution for the individuals. So kind of to summarize this slide, employees want direct deposit, access to earned wages, and pay cards and digital accounts like pay cards and general purpose reloadable cards give them access to e-commerce, because online shopping, online ordering, online everything is only increasing right now. And operating in a cash environment or a checked environment is difficult for individuals. It makes it difficult, I should say, for individuals to engage in day-to-day commerce that a lot of us probably here take for granted.
Well, Adam, that's a really good point, because when I look at kind of how we function within the business, we've got an account that payroll and operation expenses go out in. And then we've got an account that is for events and, other things that we put together. And I know for myself personally, I've got bank accounts that this is what rent goes out of. This is what, all of the expenses that I have every single month, like car insurance and car payment, go out of. And then this is the account that I do my grocery shopping with and everything else. So, I think for employers to be able to give multiple options, that's a really great thing, because it could be that somebody looks at a product like yours and says, hey, this is a really great product for your spending money.
Yep.
Because you're not going to get into as much trouble if something, you're going to be able to track it better than you can track at a bank, or, looking at those various different things. But I think it's really key on explaining to people how sometimes separating your money into two different spaces, other than just a savings account and a checking account, actually does create a lot of, because I got in trouble in college with my finances, and my mom was like, you need to have two accounts, just get two accounts. And that's how I learned it. But I think a lot of people don't really understand that that's the best thing you can do to create financial stability.
Yeah, that's a great point, and something that we see a lot in the financial literacy that we review, that and ultimately that we promote as well. Creating buckets of funds for various activities is something that you see financially secure individuals. That's an activity or a process, I should say, that financially secure individuals, that's what they engage in, right? You have your health savings account here, you've got your you've got your investment account here, you've got your general spend account here, you've got et cetera, and encouraging individuals to engage in that behavior is only going to lead to increased financial literacy and also increased financial security as well. So just a little bit about Netspend here, and I won't spend a ton of time here. And certainly if there are questions, I'd love to take those, as we have about 15 minutes left here. But a little bit about Netspend and who we are. This isn't all encompassing of Netspend, but specifically the business partnerships channel that I'm in. We offer pay cards, we offer digital disbursements, digital tips, as well as disbursements. So we offer a solution that helps provide a paperless payroll option and gives employees a convenient way to get paid. We have earned wage partners that we can recommend to organizations who have an interest in that type of product and solution for their employee base, which again, I would strongly encourage employers to take a look at that and see if that's the right fit for them, because we do believe it's the right fit for the employees. We have a digital tips platform that helps restaurants and salons and really anywhere where tips are processed from a credit card and then ultimately paid to an individual, helps them manage and pay out tips quickly while helping the business maintain compliance. And then disbursements. So for companies who want to provide disbursements to non employees, so paying out stipends and things of that nature, paying out, we work with car companies. Somebody come test drive a car and you receive a payment for that. So disbursements to individuals from a business that allows for one time, and in some cases reloadables. We have a platform that we can offer to companies as well. The one thing that's not on here that I mentioned is earned wage, and like I said, we have partners there that we can make strong recommendations to see if that's the right fit for the employers that are here on this call or potentially watching online as well. So again, kind of recap here, but Get started with these strategies today. Provide employees payroll options that give them fast, convenient electronic access to tips and earned wages. Develop and implement strategies to manage today's diversified generational workforce. Provide employees benefits that enable financial wellness, increase employee satisfaction and retention. Again, satisfied employees stay and they're much more productive. Give employees access to more resources and tools, and give them access to multiple digital payroll options. We do have a white paper that's available as well, and if anybody would like that white paper, on the next slide here, I've provided my contact information. Reach out to me, and I'd be more than happy to provide that. And the white paper talks about the impact of employee financial health on business and the economy today, and gives a path to helping employees transition from survival mode to financial stability.
Thank you, Adam. I think that was a great way to end it. We, again, are so excited to have this conversation today and look forward to having more conversations about financial security for employees, because that's just as important as financial security for our companies. And we look forward to seeing you all hopefully in the not too distant future. Let's make sure, especially with the numbers going up for the COVID cases over the last week, let's make sure we're wearing our face masks when we go out and we're in large crowds. Let's make sure that we're washing our hands and taking care of ourselves. And more importantly, as everything rolls out here in the next couple of weeks and couple of months in regards to our national and state and local elections, let's make sure we're showing empathy and understanding for people who are maybe going through a difficult time with the changes that will be coming down the pipe. We look forward to everybody having an enjoyable holiday season, but maybe not, going out to big, massive parties, so that we can all get together in the next several months or 6 months or more to have a big party together to celebrate that we've gotten through this COVID time and we're back in our offices and we're back together as a community. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and thank you again, Adam, and the entire team at Netspend for putting this together.
Pleasure's all been on this side here. So thank you, everybody. Have a great day.